Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us back here at Three Valley Copy. We're sitting here once again with President and CEO Michael. Previously, we dove into the members of the team, got a good intro to Michael's background and a little intro to the company, but today we want to go a little bit deeper at Three Valley Copper itself. First off, Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Michael. Thank you again for the opportunity. I hope you're doing as well as I, given the circumstances, right?
So I'm doing pretty well myself. We're heading into fall. Things are cooling down a little bit. Time to get the grind on. Hopefully everyone got to have somewhat of a normal summer this year, at least somewhat, right?
Somewhat. Agreed. Yeah. It would be nice.
Fair enough. All right. So first and foremost, can you just give me just a very simple elevator pitch for Three Valley Copper and reiterate the real importance of copper as a base metal in the modern world for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just start with the 30 seconds on copper. First of all, the fundamentals are copper. People think of copper as, maybe plumbing. But let's expand that as to what is going on right in front of our eyes. And really, I want to touch on green technology, decarbonization. I asked my wife, I asked my friends, their short list on their next car is either a hybrid or an EV. Those are fundamentally new demands on the industry of copper. There's nothing that compares to copper when it comes to conductivity, malleability. It's just the right thing for anything electric. So copper is that up and coming substance and base metal that is going to be needed for all these new demands and uses for copper. And I'm just going to focus really, really quickly on the electrical vehicle market. An EV car uses between 3 and 5 times the amount of copper than a typical car. Now, if you talk buses, we're getting to 11 to 13 times. Now, stop and just think about that. That is a tremendous incremental demand in copper in itself. We know the worlds of Tesla uses over 1 mile of copper in their cars. So these are crazy stats. And then we think about what Biden has even announced down in the States. He wants to put the whole federal fleet electric. He wants to put 500,000 electric vehicle gas stations, I'll use the term, throughout the country. He has a $174 billion budget that he's going to apply to this type of technology, whether it's green or infrastructure, EV, decarbonization, something's going to happen. So that's copper in a small nutshell. We're in Chile. And Chile itself is the #1 copper destination. It's the #1 global copper producer, and it's the #1 global country with copper reserves. So we are in copper and we are in Chile. I feel like that match is really good from a jurisdictional and from a commodity-based point of view. So that was my longer than 30-second pitch on that part. But a little bit, just really quickly on the project. So I told you where we are, what we do, and we only do copper. We don't do anything else. It's a one project. This was actually historically a project held by Vale, a multi-billion-dollar mining company. Now, they sold it back in 2013, not because they didn't like it, because they had a strategy shift when their CEO changed, and they decided to focus more on iron ore. This was a fledgling project of theirs, no matter what number you look at for them. And so this project, together with a bunch of others in South America, they sold off. Now, I think it was a mistake. I think it was a tremendous mistake, but that's where we are. What we are, they identified 2 deposits. We are mining one now. So we actually produce copper cathodes, and copper cathodes are the best type of copper that can be produced. It's 99.99% pure. It is what is used and is highly sought after. It demands market premiums, and we get it. And we have a second ore body that's underground, and our construction that we're working on right now is to reach that, and we expect to reach it by the end of this year. So we're a junior producer with 2 deposits on some crazy huge package of land that Vale staked. When I say large, I'm talking 46,000 hectares. No matter what unit you use, that's 460 square kilometers, almost 115,000 acres. This is large, and far less than 10% was ever looked at. That's kind of where we are. We're a producer with near-term expansion, with a massive property that we are going to explore. And we've just announced that we've started our exploration efforts on less than 1% of the property.
Wow.
So,
All right, Mike. Yeah, you're definitely in a good location, as you had mentioned, and this really does seem to be the right time. Copper is like the projection of demand is looking to be insane coming up as we head into this EV market. And really, to put the cherry on top, you guys are like you said, you already are a producer. You have some production going on, and you have plans for expansion. So, can you kind of tie in? Tell me about your guys' most recent news release. You guys initiating the exploration drilling program at MTV. Give us some of the 411 of what's going down specifically. That.
yeah, no problem. I mean, we're very fortunate that, for that exploration is to have the production side already operating. Like the infrastructure we had was built by Vale. They invested almost $250 million to do it. So I call it brand used infrastructure. It never got to capacity. But with our exploration upside, again, there has been limited exploration since Vale stopped in 2007. After they found the deposits we're mining right now, they found in 05 and 06. So what we're focused on exploration now, and before we started this, we actually had to find the right guy. And going back to, I'm going to reference the last interview we had, Mike, and I invite readers to go back to that. I spoke a little bit about John Mortimer. This is a guy who has spent his career at one of the largest mining companies in Chile, looking for copper for them, and he was very successful that he went out on his own. So we've been very fortunate to retain him to lead our exploration efforts. He has targeted what we would call lower hanging fruit. So our two deposits are 3 kilometers apart. So in geological terms, it's like a millimeter for us, right? 3 kilometers in the context of geology is very small. And he has focused on copper extrusions between the two copper deposits that we already have identified in our mining. We have two of our largest third-party miners, longest standing and largest third-party miners that operate in that area already. Now, I don't want to speak too much about third-party miners, but this is a community relationship that we do. We invite and let those small businesses around in our communities come onto our property and mine what's called oxide caps. So this is copper that's very identifiable. It's at the surface. It's that greeny, bluey color that you would associate with copper pennies tarnishing or pipes tarnishing. So it's very visible. And we invite them to the property to do what I would call very early stage exploration. We've had 2 miners there that have been mining for a long time, producing a lot of copper for us, and running it through our mill. So John has done further work on this and has identified exactly what he wants to do in this stage of exploration. And it is in and around that area with a theory that there's a continuous piece of mineralization, possibly between the 2 deposits that are 3 kilometers apart, but at least in that area. There's a lot of his work has identified what, again, I'm referring to as low-hanging fruit. So he's budgeted somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 meters of drilling. We expect to have some information out in the early part of next year, and allocated about $2.5 million to do this. This is what's really going to take the company to a whole different level as exploration. He has identified other targets, and I'll get into that at some time later on. I intend on having some new information on this coming out in the next couple of weeks. So.
Okay, fair enough, Mike. Fair enough. It is interesting that you guys are still focusing on some exploration here, because a lot of people, when they're getting into any sort of, when they're looking at companies to invest in, they're doing any sort of mining, correct? They usually are looking at companies who are just junior miners looking at exploration. But you already have the production as a bonus, so it just kind of helps you along. And with that idea, I want to shift the topic a little bit to how is the financial health of the company going currently?
Yeah, so we have great partners in our debt providers, and our senior debt providers are called Anglo American, a multi-billion-dollar miner who has invested in us, and so with half of the debt, and another partner is a fund, an investment fund out of the UK. Anglo American has also taken 100% of the offtake. So what that means is we have one customer. We sell everything we make to them, and the endorsement there is really quite interesting. Is that before such a big company like that invests in you, they put you through a fairly invasive due diligence procedure. I'll just use it as procedure because it felt like that, like that we were in the hospital and being invaded. But it went on for about 6 months before they tipped their hat and said, yeah, we're gonna invest in you. We want we'll participate in the offtake. We'll take the full offtake, and we like what we see. So the endorsement from that group is great because their technical teams come through and they go through the mines, they go through all the information, and it's a very good stamp of approval. So they've been very supportive through this. Our enterprise value is about $75 million. So that's a combination of our market cap and our debt together. We have a little bit more debt than I'm comfortable with. And I think over time with our cash flows, that certainly will get corrected. But we may also always look at opportunities for strategic partners that will take this company to a whole nother level at a faster rate than we could ever imagine. And that's always a potential for us. So I would view us as a potential takeout target because of our land property, because it used to be a valet project, because we have the infrastructure already built that costs hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. So it's a very interesting company from that perspective on the financial situation. I would consider us cheap, but I understand why. We have to prove out a couple things that are in front of us. But irrespective of that, our progress has been going wonderfully.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like you do have to prove out some things, but your partners believe in you guys, so that's a really good sign, right? About to say that there's definitely a lot of really experienced people on board backing Three Valley Copper, which is good. And from there, can we kind of shift and tell me what it is that X factor would be that people should be looking out for as all right, now we got it.
I'm going to put two things on the table here. The first one will be our underground. I've always positioned this and shared that the most important thing for our success right now is our underground construction to reach our ore body called Papamono. An odd name, but maybe somebody will remember it. To put that in context, we started less than a year ago, about 9 months ago, constructing that. We always said we would be done at the end of this year, and currently that is very attainable. It may leak into the first month or so of 2022, but to put numbers around it, we're about 70% complete our horizontal development. So this is an underground mine, so clearly just think horizontal and vertical because you're going up and down and you're going and breadth you're going across. So we're about 70% down our horizontal and 85% on our vertical works. So we are close, and there's a good 3 months left in the season here, in the year to complete that. So I'm feeling good about that completion. So that's going to be a huge check mark, and we're trending to be within budget. So I'm very happy about that. That would be certainly one catalyst. The other catalyst we just announced would be our exploration program. Now that is I would call that probably of the two the biggest sizzle once results start coming out. But John has identified we got the right guy, we're in the right place, and those are the things that are going to come out. And so that progress is coming along really well. But it is an excellent time to enter this project if you're interested in getting ahead of the curve on the value, because once those things get announced, there'll be more people coming into the stock.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. You want to get in before the big boom happens, technically. But I'm not here to give financial advice, Mike. But I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through the project. Is there anything else you think we missed? Anything else you want to add to the conversation before we go?
You know what? I'll pause because I can talk about this for quite some time. Very passionate about it. But I'm always reachable by anyone that views the video and has questions.
Yeah, of course. We'll have a link to the website below. You guys can leave a comment as well, and we'll happily dive into anything you guys got for us. Don't be afraid to reach out and subscribe because we're going to get you some more content as soon as it comes along the wire. But for now, Mike, have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks again, everyone. Bye-bye now.